When Chicago Bulls president Arturas Karnisovas said that he was going to make changes and they could not run the same core back, I don't think many people thought it was the coaching staff. Today, the Chicago Bulls have made a lot of changes to the assistant coaches behind Billy Donovan. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this update. So the Chicago Bulls have made a number of changes to their staff, and while this may shape up and look initially like it's not a big deal, it's actually quite a big deal. You know, with holding on to Billy Donovan, who has 2 years left on his contract, if you're not going to change the head coach, getting some better assistants around Billy Donovan with situational awareness, these are things that I've talked about on the show before. Well, today the Bulls made a lot of changes. Mo Cheeks, who came to Chicago with Billy Donovan, is no longer going to be on the staff now. It is reported that he could take another role under Billy Donovan just because of how long they've been working together. The assistant Chris Fleming, who did take over for Billy Donovan as the head coach way back in 2021-22 season when Billy Donovan caught COVID and was out for a little while there. Chris Fleming is also leaving the staff. He is no longer part of the staff in Chicago at all. Replacing them, John Bryant is expected to move to the front of the bench under Billy Donovan. Now, John Bryant is a coach who's been an assistant across the G League and other teams for 14 years. He's a guy who's a really good coach. He actually was the head coach of the Windy City Bulls last season. And while they were in a very similar system to what Billy Donovan does run, that's the whole point of the G League system. John Bryant is a guy that a lot of teams have looked at and talked about for quite a while as being a coach that, as far as the X's and O's part of it, is a really good coach. And he brings that experience. He also is really good at developing, identifying talent with young players. That's why he's been so successful between the NBA and G League. He's actually looked at as one of the rising coaches in the NBA as well. When he took over to coach the Chicago Bulls G League team, a lot of people made a deal about it. Not a big deal, but they did make a deal about it because he is someone who he's coached under Billy Donovan, he's coached under Doc Rivers, and he's coached under Brett Brown. Now, while those are all kind of similar coaches, he's a guy who's been around, he's been seasoned, and he brings a lot of familiarity also with the young players that the Bulls are looking to develop and kind of get more out of. And then with that as well, Billy Donovan is also moving to the lead assistant is John Longstaff. Now, this is probably one of the more profile things in this move. John Longstaff is a guy who he's been an assistant with the Chicago Bulls before. He's been a head coach with the Bayhawks in college. He also was an assistant coach in Milwaukee, OKC Thunder, and the New York Knicks, all in the NBA as well. This is a guy who has been coaching since 2005 when he was an assistant in Portland. So, you know, that's something to be said there before as well, that he's coming in and he has a lot of as well experience. Now, make no mistake, these two guys have been on the back end of Billy Donovan's roster before, but these are guys that bring some as far as staff, bringing in some head coaching experience before, and it's a new role for those guys. So their duties are going to be a lot different and kind of can bring in a new mix and a new eye on things. Now, that still leaves some coaching staff spots open. It's going to be interesting to see how Billy Donovan fills those out. But this is the first maybe of a bunch of changes by the Chicago Bulls, bringing in some new eyes, some new ideas, trusting people to have new roles. And so, you know, we'll see. The one thing about this is saying that Mo Cheeks may stay on in a different role in the staff may be a little bit concerning, but as a speculative piece, right? So that was the news. I want to bring some speculation to this. I've said before, and I know a lot of Bulls fans didn't like it when I said it, I would not be surprised at all if this is the first step in preparing for Billy Donovan to maybe move to the front office. For the last 3 off seasons, Mark Eversley has been interviewed for either GM roles that operate more as a president of basketball operations or basketball operations role. And I think that the Bulls may see the writing on the wall and they may be grooming for a succession plan. I'm not saying that that's the foregone conclusion there, but I would not be surprised if that's something kind of in the back of the minds there. And I know Bulls fans don't like the concept or idea of Billy Donovan, who they don't like as a coach, potentially moving into the front office, but there has been coaches that were mediocre coaches that actually turned into really good GMs. And I think a lot of what Billy Donovan has done, especially in college, right, doing more of that recruiting, identifying talent, things like that, could really doing wonders potentially in the GM role. Now, again, not reporting on that, but I would not be surprised if that ultimately may be something that a couple of years now we look back on as well. But let me know what you guys think as far as the Bulls changing, making changes in their coaching staff. AK already saying that they are going to make changes. And this is a first step in that, not major changes, but changes. And let's see what it brings about. But let me know all that down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullsCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. Thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.